A very basic but very important question is, what is sin? And the reason this question is so important is because there are many today who really do not know what all constitutes sin. There are as many standards as there are people, it seems. Nowadays, with the rapidly changing standards and of morality, a lot of men and women are genuinely out at sea about this matter of what is sinful and what is not. Some parents are asking what they should permit their children to do and what they should forbid. The adult population, though, is about as confused as the young people are for answers to these questions of what is right and what is wrong. Well, the main reason for all the confusion is that many do not know God's Word. Very few search the Scriptures for the answers, and they usually rely on their own judgment or some code of ethics that's handed down from their parents or from the standards of our society. There's a vast cloud of ignorance hovering over the world today, and this is the reason that Christ commanded the gospel to be preached to every creature. When Christ sent the Apostle Paul out to preach to the Gentiles, he said that it was in order to open their eyes and to turn them from darkness to light and from the power of Satan unto God, that they may receive forgiveness of sins and inheritance among them which are sanctified by faith that is in me. Acts 26 and verse 18. This is why Christ is called the light of the world. When we come into contact with Jesus, our own dark ignorance and sinful ways are exposed for what they really are. We become guilty in this great light, and we see our urgent need for forgiveness. We're then turned from darkness to the light and to the purity that is found in the truth of God. So whenever we look at this question of what is sin, the Bible gives a very simple definition of it. The Apostle John wrote its definition in 1 John 3 and verse 4, "Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law." A sinner, simply put, is a lawbreaker. He transgresses or goes beyond the boundaries of law. Law is there to place restrictions upon our actions, and when we break the law, we sin. But what law is he talking about here? Well, first, there are certain moral laws written on the consciences of men and that are common to all of mankind. And Paul showed how the Gentiles, although they did not have a written law from God as the Jews did, they had a law of the conscience written upon their hearts, Romans 2 verses 14 and 15. We see this law at work in every nation of people, even in what may be referred to as unenlightened nations. Here we see places where the gospel has not gone. Every nation and state has laws restricting murder, cheating, stealing, perjury, and other moral concepts. These sins are obvious to all people and are highly destructive to our society. And if civil law did not step in and prohibit these things, then the world would crumble in the hands of lawlessness. But God has ordained that there be civil powers to regulate the affairs of men. Even though we may not always agree that all of the laws of the state are as good as they should be, we need to realize that God still expects us to obey them. In fact, to disobey them is to disobey God. Not that God made the laws themselves, but He ordained the powers that be and gave them authority to make laws. Paul said, "Whosoever therefore resisteth the power resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation." Romans 13 and verse 2. But whenever we consider the things that are contained in God's Word, we see a different type of law. We see the law of Moses in the Old Testament. We see the law of God in the New Testament. These are the laws that are expected of us, that we are to be following. And in our program tomorrow, we will continue looking at this thought of what is sin. And friends, we thank you for joining us for our program today, and have a blessed day.